Hey everyone, in this video we'll be discussing about this very instructive idea introduced by AlphaZero in the first place in the London system, which was a huge discovery like 2 years ago when it first came out. And the point is to play e4 in this position. And the main idea behind it is that if black takes, well, our knight on f3 is under attack, but we don't really have to move it since the point is to play now knight c4. Going for a counter-attack, taking away the a5 square of black's queen, and if they do go for the knight grab by taking, we can play rook to b3. And the queen is running out of squares because, queen d4 might give you the false impression that black can escape because we can literally just capture that as the knight on c6 is pinned and white is just winning a queen. So the goal of this video is to show you that even though the London system has the reputation of not being the most aggressive opening ever, there are a lot of sneaky traps that you can go for that could give you a very quick victory, without ruining your position if black does not fall for the traps. So without further ado, let's actually have a look on this from the very beginning. So the game starts with 1d4. We have d5, knight f3 by white, knight f6, and now after the move bishop to f4, we do have the London system on the board. And usually the issue with this opening is that, the pawn on b2 has been weakened and black can go for an early attack of that pawn. So we have c5, e3, and after the standard knight c6, it's important to play the move knight b to d2. And I explained in previous videos why c3 and queen b6 is a very good version for black. So we are supposed to go knight b to d2 in this position, and we are going to see that black plays the move queen b6 regardless. So on the channel before, we have covered pretty much any legal move in this position, such as knight h5, such as the standard e6, such as developing the bishop to g4. You can just check out my London system playlist for that. But for this video, I will be focusing on the AlphaZero gambit, rising after the move queen b6. Now we take on c5. And the main line goes after black takes the pawn on b2. But you may be wondering, well, does it really have to? Because queen takes on c5 is another pretty decent move. And the key way to play against this is to go a3. And if we are allowed, we will simply push b4 and then c4, just gaining a lot of pressure on the queen side. And black cannot really stop us with a5 because we will be pushing c4 anyways. And we will be continuing with rook c1, and the queen will be simply used as a target. So white is just getting a pretty easy advantage in these lines. So after the move dc5, black does take on b2. Now we will be playing the move rook b1. And most commonly, we see the move queen to c3 here by black. But what happens if they take on a2? You may be wondering. And here I found a very nice trap after bishop to b5. A lot of players tend to go e6 in online chess. And now white is simply winning after the move knight to b3. And here, if black continues developing in normal fashion, with let's say like bishop to e7, we can go rook a1, hitting the queen. And after queen to b2, we can simply trap it by using the bishop to e5 move. Because the knight is pinned, it cannot really take the bishop, and the queen has no squares. It just has to give up for the rook in that scenario, with a winning position for white. So instead of this, black would try to improve and play the move knight d7, stopping bishop to e5, but white would still be winning after the precise castle, and after a6, we should take on c6 with the idea that we can play queen d4 now. And black is again unable to defend against the simple threats of going rook fc1, defending that pawn on c2, and then trapping the queen with rook a1. So white will be winning, and for this reason, more people are playing the move queen to c3 after rook to b1. So on queen c3, it's important to develop the bishop on the most active square, which is b5. And if black takes on c5, we can castle and then break with c4, and they usually go for the move e6 here, prioritizing developing of the king side with bishop to e7 and castle short. Here white castles, and normally black plays the move bishop to e7, but I'm assuming some of you may be wondering, well, what if black just takes on c5 with the bishop? And there are many ways that white can play in this position, but I have a very funny trap here. White can play the move bishop to c7, threatening rook b3 because the queen can no longer retreat on a5. That was the point of our move. And if black plays something like queen a3, let's say, trying to defend against our rook b3 move, now we can play knight to c4, hitting the queen. And obviously, if the queen takes on a2, we can play rook a1, queen gets trapped. And if they do go and accept the sacrifice. We can go for this very cute checkmate on d8 because the knight is pinned and it's unable to capture our queen. So it's not that often you see a checkmate in the London on move 12, but it can happen if you go for this traps by Lila Zero. And that's pretty much it about bishop to c7. Just quickly mention that a better move here is bishop to e7 for black, but you can play knight e5 and still keep very decent compensation for the pawn. And instead of the main move, which is bishop to e7 in this position, as played by Moscow Masters, here black also tried the move queen c5, which can be answered by c4, just trying to open up the position. And after a6, you can just give up the bishop for the knight because we get a very nice initiative. After knight e5, queen c5, we can take advantage of the fact that black's king is still in the center by throwing in this check on a4. Now knight to d7, there's a very funny move. We can just take on b7 because if the bishop takes, we can take on d7 with a checkmate. And this actually happened in an over the board game, and black simply resigned after the move rook takes on b7. So going back to our main crossroads on move 9, another move that has been tried, and I faced it my own as well in online chess, is the move bishop to d7. And here the key way to play is to go bishop to d3. Now the pawn on b7 is hanging, and if black plays the, let's say, typical bishop takes on c5, quite a natural move, we can play rook b3, hitting the queen. Only square for the queen is to a5, but then we can play rook b5. And all of a sudden, black has issues keeping that bishop defended, because if you go queen a3, there's a knight b1 move. The queen has to move, and then we will be collecting the bishop at the end of the line with just a winning position. So going back to the main line, as I was saying, in most of the Grandmaster games, black usually plays the move bishop to e7, preparing to castle short, and here AlphaZero's novelty is to play the move e4. As I showed in the introduction of this video, if they take, the point is to play knight c4, and black's queen gets trapped after the move rook to b3, and therefore the main move is to simply ignore that pawn and castle for black. But knight takes c4 also comes to mind in this position, because, you know, black is trying to trade a pair of knights. There will be no knight to c4 anymore, but white has another powerful continuation here, which is to take. And again, we'll be sacrificing that knight on f3 by playing the move bishop takes on c6 first, and then bishop to d6. And now the point is, well, if black does go for taking on f3, you can take on e7, and then go for queen d6 check. If king goes back to e8, we can take on c6, and then win the exchange. Again, that is one of the winning moves. There are many. And if black tries to go for this kind of journey with the king, then we have this really nice rook to b3 move. Rook comes into f3, with just a winning attack against black's king. So for this reason, the black players prefer to just focus on the developing part of the game and not really grab any more material, since black is already up a pawn, so they just go for short castle. But there are still chances for black to go wrong here. After e5, knight goes to d7, and now we play the move knight to b3. And there's a huge threat of bishop to d2, as for example, if black goes for grabbing that seemingly weak pawn on e5, well, we can just take and then go bishop to d2. Black's queen's got trapped once again, and same thing happen if they do take on c5. There will be bishop to d2, just winning that queen on the spot. So for this reason, black has to find its only move, which is queen to b4, preparing to hide on a3, but also the bishop is now under attack. So for this reason, we will be playing the move knight fd4, threatening to take that knight on c6, and now black usually goes for something like knight takes on d4, knight takes on d4, hitting the queen, and after queen takes on c5, rook to e1 is a nice prophylactic move, defending the pawn on e5, over protecting it, because this is really one of our main attacking assets, as the knight is unable to go back to f6, from where it's gonna be defending the king really nicely. And after something like rook to d8, we have a very nice game played by Berkes Ferenc. After h4, very nice idea, with the point that he can now bring the rook into the attack. After knight f8, plays rook h3, and won a model game played between Berkes Ferenc and Forsen Esteban in Linares in 2020. And I actually have covered that game on the channel before. I will leave a card on the screen that you can click if you're more interested about this, typical positions and how you should be developing the initiative once you get into this type of lines. I would say maybe, h4 is a bit of a niche thing already, but I would say this position that you see on the board is actually very common, and you should be quite familiar with it if you're trying to make this knight b to d2 London Gambit as one of your main weapons. So yeah, check out that video. I think it's full of interesting ideas. And if you feel like you learned anything new, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you get notified whenever I post a new video. And I'd like to thank you for watching. I'll see you around on the channel. Take care.